Had my sixth, my little Gracie girl, um, for months after. Again, this was probably the most dangerous time for me. This was a time where I had a lot of feelings of I didn't trust myself with myself. I didn't trust myself with my children. I felt that I was just like a hair's breadth away from losing it. And I always feared, what if the worst were to happen? What if the worst were to happen? If I were to harm my children, if I were to harm myself? I felt so close to that edge. I felt like I was almost falling off of that edge.
Hi, I'm Kristen Brunius, and this is the Overcomers Podcast. I am so excited for you to hear the stories of incredible people overcoming trials and turning them into triumphs. From everyday moms and dads to entrepreneurs to community leaders and beyond, you'll see how everyone has a story of overcoming, and those stories are what connect us all. Let's hop right in. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we have Donna Halliday with us, and as we were chatting through some technical difficulties, I was thinking about what a nice change of pace this is for me. A lot of times these episodes, you guys may not realize behind the scenes, the hours and hours and hours of research and listening to podcasts and reading books that come with some of the other guests. But since I know Donna in real life and love her and admire her, we were kind of like, what are we going to talk about? I probably should have told you. So, Donna, I am sorry. I'm actually kind of getting a little embarrassed as I'm kind of realizing how little I prepared you. But
No, you're totally fine. I feel totally comfortable asking whatever questions you want. So,
you're awesome. You're awesome. So, Donna and I connected through the network marketing company that I'm a part of, that actually her husband is the president and founder, CEO. He's the man. And Greg has been on just once on the podcast, and he was awesome. He actually talked a bit about your story, so I'm excited for everybody to hear it from your
great.
perspective. And
Wow.
yeah, so it's an honor. Thanks for being here.
I am so honored to be here as well. You're so kind to invite me, and you're just so easy to talk to. I think that it's going to be just a nice little time to sit down and chat with each other.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks. So I spoiled it a little bit and said that Greg had told some of your story, but a lot of what I wanted to talk about, revolves around mental health. And, you
Mhm.
know, mental health is a really, really big issue for a lot of women. And for you, it started when you were more of a teenager, and then you had
Yeah.
some real lows when you were a mom. And then
Yep.
kind of take us through that journey. We'll talk a bit even at the end about some perimenopause and things like that. But I just really feel like there needs to be more awareness. And for you, the mental health struggle was more depression.
It was. I've kind of recently realized I do have a little bit of anxiety with it as well. But for me, I've always felt more of when I have these episodes, it's more sadness, it's more
Mm.
hopelessness, it's more just darkness. It's hard to think clearly. It's hard to find a way out of it sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I was a teenager. I was about 16. I went to um, a friend's house in Germany to live as an exchange student. She had been an exchange student at my high school. We became friends. She said, "Hey, after high school, why don't you come back and live with me in Germany?" I'm like, "Oh, great. I know nothing about Germany and I don't speak the language." And I'm 16 years old. So this sounds very successful to consider this idea to do this. But my parents were like really encouraging. So off I went to Germany, and first time away from home. Again, don't know the culture, don't know the language. My host sister had all her friends there, and I really didn't have anybody there. So after a couple of months, my host mom had gone into my room and had kind of seen like what I was journaling
Hmm.
and became alarmed. She was like, we sat down that evening and she says, "I think you might be struggling with depression." And this is the first time anyone had ever like said that word to me. And of course I was like, well, no, that's ridiculous. I don't know what you're talking about. That couldn't possibly be me. I'm a people person. I love being out in life. Like, surely not, right? And so the more we kind of talked about it, she started bringing up things that she was noticing. I was sleeping all the time. I didn't want to go out with anybody. When I came home from school, that was it. Like my day was done. I really didn't have anything left in me, and was was showing these signs that she was smart. She picked up on it. And so after talking with my parents and everything, we decided I wouldn't stay for the full year that I had originally planned. And I came home, but like as soon as I walked off the airplane, wow, like clouds lifted. Like I felt good again. I felt energized again. I felt like I wanted to be a part of life again. And so that was kind of the way it was. I would have little episodes here and there, sometimes something, like a breakup or, a hard class at college or, different just life stories would, when I would go through them, I would sometimes feel really low. But then I would always kind of bounce back. So for a long time, that's just the way it was. I would have times where I was really sad or low for a while, and then I would feel fine again. And so I didn't ever really know what that could lead to. I didn't really ever have to do anything to come out of it. And
Could
so that
you
was that was my life for a good while.
could you trace it to anything? Like was it like seasonal or weather related or like
No, I mean,
seasonal
I grew up in
affective?
Southern California.
Mm.
Right. No, I mean, Southern California is known for being sunny. I think that maybe is why I had my first experience over in Germany.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I went 2 months without seeing the sun. Like it was just overcast all day, every day. So I think at the beginning, maybe it was a little bit of sad. But and then I guess I could say in California, I did never really feel like I had it. And then I moved to Utah, where I
Mm.
went to college. And yeah, they have seasons, which was unique to me. Like I didn't know what seasons were, right? A real fall, a real winter, a real spring, a real summer. And so, but I don't remember connecting it with a season. So, and even now, I don't really feel like I connect it with a season. It,
Hmm.
it mostly is situational. Like if an event happens that I either am ill prepared for or was unexpected or things like that, sometimes that can really kind of throw me
Oh, which is funny
into
because
depression.
yeah, yeah. And that's funny because, times like tonight where we're like, what are we going to talk about? Let's just talk.
Right. Right.
Um,
No, this wouldn't knock me off kilter, but yeah, sometimes like big life events, I will notice that it takes me a while to like internalize, to process, really like pull out those feelings, observe them. I think I am the type that will kind of stuff feelings down,
mm.
and I don't think that helps. I think sometimes then it gets to a point where that cup is overflowing with feelings that I have not dealt with, thoughts that I have not processed. So I learn through each experience something new, and it's something I think that I will always have throughout my life. So if I can continue to learn through each experience, hopefully I will get better and better at it.
Right, right. Yeah. The reason I brought up the seasonal affective disorder is because I think a lot of more people have it than they realize. And I know
Uh-huh.
for, yeah, I know for us here, being in the Midwest, that there's lots of people who are like, I don't have that, I don't have that, I don't have that. But then you watch the
Right.
behavior change of everyone once we have our first 40 or 50-degree day or our first sunny February day. And all of a sudden everyone is outside.
Yes.
And it's like, no, you are affected, some more than others, obviously.
Hmm.
But I know for me, it was the winter of 2023. It was all over the news that we went an entire month. It was unusual, but we went an entire month
Yeah.
in the Chicagoland area with no sun. And it was the whole month of January. And
Wow.
I just remember feeling like, oh, I need to see the sun. And of course, that isn't our
Yeah.
typical January. It was just so happened to be a cloudy one. But the sun really does make a difference. So that's why I brought that
It
up.
does. And even now, I spend a lot of time outside. I walk my dog morning and night. I usually will go out and be on my bike or, hike in mountains, or I will be active all summer. And meeting with my menopause specialist, she tested me and she's like, "You are way low on vitamin D." I'm like, "That is not possible. I am always outside." And she was like, "Nope, you are way low." And I was shocked. I thought for sure I am okay. For sure. I love the sun. I'll be outside all day. But no, she really made an impression on me that I absolutely need to be on vitamin D every single day
Yeah.
um, to help with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
almost,
eye-opening. I didn't know.
yeah. Yeah. And almost all of us need to be, no matter how
Yeah,
much we spend outside.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So tell us, so after you got back from Germany, just like kind of like things just fell off, you didn't notice so much going on, and then what happened next?
Right. Um, I mean, Greg and I met at BYU when we were both going to school up here in Utah. We got married, stayed, began to have children. Um, I definitely knew that stress for me was a big trigger. Um, that even every time I would have another child, I didn't necessarily go through postpartum, but just sort of like adding more to my plate, I would have more frequent episodes, if you will, of depression. And I wish that I had tracked it. I wish that I had like written down like, okay, starting on this date and ending on this date, and these were things that were going on. I kind of wish that I had journaled all that because it's
Hmm.
hard to remember. This is so long ago. Like my oldest she's 30, she's 32. So
Okay.
like that was quite a while ago to remember, exactly like what was going on at that time. But again, I'd always, you add more to your load, and for a while it's really hard to juggle and it's really hard to figure out. And then you get used to carrying a heavier load, and then you just kind of go on with life. So everything really kind of trucked along, if you'll say, like, making my way through life um, until I had my fifth. So
Mm.
that was Ethan. We were really excited after four girls to have a boy, and it was just like, yay, this is all great. And it was great, but I noticed absolutely for sure after having him that postpartum hit. And that was really the first time. Like, even after all my other kids, I really had never gone through more than like a week or two of sadness after when they were born, but then I would pop back up. And with him, it was like a year. It was like a full year of just feeling just a lot of crying, a lot of sadness, a lot of feeling like I'm incapable, just like all of those really negative personal emotions you can put on yourself. And so that really was hard. And it was hard for Greg too, because he didn't really know what was happening.
Hmm.
I know he didn't mean it when he said it, but his opinion of how I was acting was, you just want to be sad.
Mm.
And of course, that wasn't true, but he didn't know how else to describe it because what he was seeing was, you are always sad, but you have like all of these good things in your life. You have all these beautiful children. You're a stay-home mom. You've got good health. Like, you could list all the things that were good in my life. So why are you sad? You know? And even for me, it was surprising to me that I was so sad for so long. But again, like after about a year, like he was born in February, so it would have been the next year, February, March, April, like spring is coming. And I remember feeling much, much more positive about life and feeling like, oh, I feel like the clouds have really lifted. And then as soon as I felt that, I was pregnant again.
Of
And
course.
that was with grace, right? And with grace, and I've said this before, like I know the day I conceived with her
Hmm.
because it was again down in the pit of despair, and that lasted all pregnancy long. And there were things I know that were happening in my own brain as far as during that time that I was pregnant with her, but I really I really wanted to have another boy. I had four girls, I had a boy, and I really wanted to have another boy. And so I was getting through the first stages of pregnancy and finding my way again. And then when they told me that I was having a girl again, that really, really was like a full-on tailspin. And crying for days, could hardly express myself. My kids didn't know what was going on, and so they were like, "Mom, is something wrong with the baby?" because like you're so upset after finding out, that you're having a little girl and you just had your ultrasound, and usually that's like a really exciting, happy time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really dark time. I know my brain was not in the right place. I know it wasn't. I definitely had feelings of if I wanted to continue the pregnancy. And I'm a big pro-lifer. Like I can't believe, that that thought would even cross my mind. But it did. Like again, that's the terrible headspace that I was in, that I would even consider that. Um, I didn't really ever feel like I wanted to check out of life myself at that point. I still was getting through each and every day. Like I had a purpose. Like I had my kids depending on me, and we were making memories together and all of those good things. But definitely the weight of 5 children plus being pregnant um, was a big load. Was a really big load. Um, but I got through the pregnancy okay, and I started seeing a counselor towards the end just because I was still struggling with feelings of, do I love this baby? Can I connect with this baby? Am I excited to have this baby? Because I was feeling so disconnected. Like I know it's happening, but it's not really happening, kind of a feeling. And he was so helpful to me. And one of the biggest things I learned, so he did cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that he told me was that my thoughts drive my feelings. And I had always thought my feelings drive my thoughts. And I always thought, but I feel sad. So that's the end of it, right? And he says, no, the way you talk to yourself can affect your feelings. So he had me do like this exercise of like talking positively to myself, like I'm talking to a friend. Donna, you're doing great. Donna, you're doing okay. Donna, you're gonna go take a shower now. Like I didn't realize that I could talk to myself and affect how I was feeling. And so I think I tried that for like 2 weeks, and I came back and he asked me, he's like, who has been your biggest supporter this last week? So I sat there and I thought, me. It was me. I was my biggest cheerleader this last 2 weeks. And just an absolute revelation that I had never considered before is that I could be like an advocate for myself. I could be my biggest cheerleader. And he gave me permission that once the baby was born, if I didn't have to have an immediate connection. Like, where did that idea come from? Like, it doesn't have to be that way, right? So he gave me permission to have this baby and just allow it to be whatever it was. And baby came. I was able to hold her, love on her. After a couple days, feeling much more love, much more connection to her. It turns out that she had hip dysplasia. And so we were in and out of Children's Hospital for a couple of months, I think about 3 months. And just that extra care that I had to give for her, I think created that extra love that I had for her. And even now, she's 19. Like she's off being a missionary in Italy right now and just living this amazing life that I'm just so proud of, and how grateful I am for her and how much I just adore and love her. And I'm so grateful she's in my life. And truly, like, you just let love come and it can come. And I'm still so thankful for her and the experience that I had with her.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that permission piece, for example, there, because I find that really
Mm,
interesting. Because I've had that happen a few times in my life where, like, will say to me, Kristen, it's okay to mourn that. Whether it's an end of a
yeah.
relationship or an argument or something didn't
Hmm.
turn out the way you wanted. And I love how your counselor or therapist gave you permission to just take your time.
Yeah. I think, like, again, like I was expecting so much of myself that I was putting all this pressure on myself I didn't need to. And sometimes we look at our life and we think it should be like this, it should look like this. And it is hard to sometimes let go of those expectations and be like, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I am working through that, and it is going to be okay, and I will find my way. There's so much going on in the world right now, and honestly, so much of it has like touched our family in just even the last couple of years. Like we have a child that doesn't want us in their life at all. We have a child who is has come out as gay and is living that lifestyle. We have children that have left our faith, which like they were raised in the church and the beliefs that we have, and they have since like walked away from that. And we've had to be okay with that, right? Even though that's not what my life was supposed to look like. We have a child who is feeling very drawn to the transgender world
Mm.
and has taken some actions in that department. And again, it's like my expectations were that my life was going to look differently and my children's lives were going to be this way. And again, it's you do have to process those things, but again, letting go of those expectations because that's just my disappointment is only that it wasn't what I envisioned, right? And so, but if I pressure myself or I pressure my children or I pressure my neighbors or my friends that like this is what I think it should be like, because then I'm going to be disappointed. And so to just realize, okay, what I expected didn't happen and it is what it is. And for me, I've had to define in myself like that kind of what joy can still be with my life looking different maybe than I imagined. And instead of waiting for my life to check all of these boxes and say, well, then I will be happy when my children do this and when my job does that and when my husband, right? And so again, it's coming to that realization and that acceptance that this is my life and life is what it is. And the only thing I have control over is my reaction to it. And so,
Yeah.
am I going to like lash out? Am I going to be angry? Am I going to be guilt tripping my children? Am I going to be, how am I going to handle it truly? And yeah, giving yourself permission to be sad, angry, mad, all part of the process, but just don't live there. Just don't stay there, right? And you want to get through that. You don't just want to dwell on it. You also don't want to stuff it down, which is always kind of my inclination to just, it's fine, everything's fine, put a smile on my face and just keep going. But again, like, yeah, learning how to be generous and kind to yourself and allowing yourself to go through those processes in the hopes that you can come to a better place through all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone who's very smart told me when I was going through a tough time, she said the only way out is through. And I don't know what it was about that.
Yes.
I still
Yes.
to this day can remember when she told me that, and I felt like, okay, so here's a side story. One time I decided to hop in my car and drive to Canada to visit a mutual friend of ours who lives up there. And I didn't decide to
Yeah.
check the weather before I did this and drove straight through a blizzard.
Why would you?
And I
Of
remember,
course.
yeah, I remember pulling off the expressway when I was about 4 hours in, and let's just say it was going to be about an
Mm.
8 hour drive, and
Ooh, yeah.
calling Dave and him being like, well, at this point, if you come and you turn back around, you're going to have to go through it again,
Right.
or you keep going and you're going to come out the other side. And I felt like when this friend of mine told me the only way out is through was like, she gave me permission,
Yeah.
like, just wake up the next day. You got this. And the next day and the next day.
Yeah.
And slowly, for me, it was
Yeah.
more panic and just like
Mm.
terrible anxiety, just like afraid of everything,
Yeah.
not sure what to
Yeah.
do. People, just terrified, like literally terrified. Um,
Yep.
so I was going to say something else. Oh,
Well, those are real feelings. Real feelings.
yeah. Yeah. And I like how you talk about this, like the circles of control. And I
Mm.
have to be reminded of that a lot, that the only thing that Kristen can control is what's right. Yeah, right. And even like when we think of our children, now my children are younger than yours. My son's
Right.
almost 12 And then my girls are 14 and 15. So in a way, I guess I can
Yeah.
control them a little bit, but not really,
Oh.
meaning that like if they're going to do something, they could figure out a way to do it. And, same with
Yep.
my husband. And it's such a great
Yes.
reminder as a mother that, we just do the best we can, and we just throw as
Yep.
much love as we can on them. And
Yeah.
then we have to have some sort of level of peace.
It's true. It's true. And I think I touched on this a little bit that my relationship with my own mother has been very rocky. She grew up in a very abusive home. Her mother died when she was just a teenager. Um, we have had an on and off relationship really until about 15 years ago when I it did not matter what boundary I set. It did not matter how healthy the relationship was that I tried to work on. It just disintegrated to
Mm.
the point where I walked away. So my mother's still alive. She lives in Portland. My brother looks after her. She's in her 80s now, but I do not have a relationship with her. And
Mm.
so I didn't ever really have a mother's example to look up to as to how to navigate with my adult children. And so that's something that I've had to like learn on my own. Maybe a little bit of what not to do from my own mother, but in the end, it is honestly just like my job, especially with adult children, right? Maybe not with little kids. Little kids, you gotta manage them, but with adult children, it's like I get to love them.
Mm-hmm.
I get to love them. And they have their own lives and they get to make their own decisions. And if I'm going to be in their life at all, I'm going to be there as one that they never question, does my mother love me? Now, having said that, I do have a daughter who does not want any contact with me right now, and that's painful. And it's related to the political environment of the day. I'll just leave it at that. And I would love the opportunity to love her. And maybe I'm not going to agree with all of her life choices. And I think that maybe what she was, how she feels love. She feels love when people agree with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's one of those things where it's like, I still need to be true to myself, hold on to my values, and I still have to have within myself that confidence that I am choosing the best I can. And maybe she is not ready to hear it yet. And maybe she's never going to be ready to hear it. I don't know. But again, I can't be perfect and I can't expect that of myself as a mother because I'm just a human being, you know? And again, it just comes down to, yeah, I have to have peace that I did my best as a mother. I'm doing my best as a mother. And and given the chance, I will always hope that they know how much I love them, regardless if we have disagreements or differences of opinions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find that interesting. So, because obviously, the political environment always goes back and forth. And listeners, I'm not here to
Yeah,
talk about politics, certainly. But the
right.
lesson that I learned was we had 4 years of this party, and then we had 4 years
Mhm.
of another party, and now we're back to four
Mhm.
years. And during some of
Mhm.
those 4 years, I know for me, I was super depressed and
Yeah,
scared and angry. And then when it
sure.
swung
Sure.
to the other side, I was like, "Oh, this is great." Until I saw the other side get all depressed and angry, and I said to myself, "What are we doing here?"
I know.
And
I
I
know.
I had to pull it back and say, "Kristen, you were sad, depressed, and angry for 4 years
Yeah.
because of people who were outside of your circle of control. Yes,
Yes.
there were
Yes.
certain things that affected us, like different
Mhm.
mandates or regulations or,
Sure.
maybe interest rates or whatever. But really, at the end of the day,
Right.
like inside of the Brunius household, there's very little that's affected by who sleeps at the White House. Let's be real.
I agree.
And
I
so,
agree. And that's the thing too, is that you and I, like, we're old enough that we have lived through many iterations of different presidencies, different policies. Like I have I have plenty of experience of the person I voted for didn't get put in, and the person I did vote for did get put in. Like we've had so many, like I've had experience in that, and I think like these young kids that are coming up, not a lot of them have seen that. They have not seen what it's like when your opponent, when your candidate didn't get put into the office you were hoping for. So again, I kind, it's again, that's that confidence of I have lived through different experiences, and the sun always comes up the next day,
mhm,
and it's not always as bad as you think. And if you really think that everybody on that side is my enemy, well, go out and be with those people and realize that they're human beings too, and that we do have common ground, even though media maybe wants to paint it a different way. So I hold out hope that as my children grow and they begin to have their own experiences, that they will look back at them and realize, oh, I survived this. I'm going to be
mhm.
okay, right? And if that's all that we learn through life is that we can survive and we can thrive regardless of what's going on around us. We can find strength. We can find peace. We can find our grounding and those values that we hold to. And and again, like our peace and joy isn't always dependent on, you know, on a checklist of things. It's something that we have to find deep within ourselves.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't think you could have said it any better. Um, yeah, because guess what? Another 4-year election is going to come, and another one after
It
that.
will. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
So
want to
let's.
be the kind of person. Oh, sorry. I just want to
No,
say I want to still be true to myself, through all of that. And I don't want to let these outside influences change who I want to be as a person, right? So like that's my goal through all of that, is that I don't let things change me and harden me and make me bitter and angry. And it's like, no, I still want to be a joyful person. I still want to be a person with purpose and who can show love to others, even if we disagree on things.
yeah, and honestly, I think those are the people that you learn the most from. I just recorded an episode the other day where I
Oh
talked
yeah.
about, yeah, yeah, where I talked about, I don't know about you, but the people who were high school sweethearts and had 3 kids and a dog and a white picket fence, like they're not that fun to talk to. So,
Ah.
I mean, it's just
Oh,
going through, that's the whole point of this podcast is going through tough times is what makes people interesting. And that doesn't mean agreeing all the time.
it's true. No, it doesn't. And how limited would my view be if I only had people in my life who said the exact same words that I said? Like, how boring is that? I remember teaching a Sunday school class once, and there was a girl in there, I think they were probably around 12 or 13, and she wanted to have the answer to everything. So it didn't matter as a teacher whatever I said or tried to direct a conversation. She wanted to have the answer. And so nobody else in the class was able to talk. And she just wanted to have all of the answers and she wanted to answer every question. And finally I kind of looked at her and I said, if you're the only one talking, you're going to walk out of this class knowing no more than you did,
Right.
because you're not letting other people share different ideas and allowing your brain to expand and make room for things that you have never thought about before. She's still a teenager, so I don't know how much of that she's really applied yet. But again, like we're adults and we sometimes do the same thing. Like if I'm the only one talking to myself, my view is going to be very, very small. So yeah, talk to those people that are different than you and try and see it from their perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to make you a more well rounded person, no doubt. So let's pivot a little bit,
Yeah.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. You betcha.
One one of the things that I remember, I haven't told you this yet. So guys, she's not prepared for this.
Surprise.
I remember one of our very first conversations that we ever had. I went into the whole holistic health world with this massive shame and guilt that I was on an
Oh,
SSRI. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember having a conversation with you, speaking of permission, where you kind of gave me the
mm,
permission to say, you know what, Kristen, that's okay. Like, that's where you're at right now. And I was in the process of starting to combine it with
mhm.
some of the Soul Natural supplements. I was very new to the whole idea. I didn't even know what an adaptogen was, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
Herbs, adaptogens, supplements. I probably took a Flintstone vitamin, and that was about the extent of
same.
my right. And so tell us a little bit of your story because you similarly were more in the herbal world. Well,
Mhm,
not similarly because I wasn't in the herbal world at all. So you were in
mm.
the herbal world with Greg, and you guys tended to do things a little bit more holistically, and then you fell into this depression time. And so you did use an SSRI for a little bit. So walk us through that a
I
little bit.
did. Okay. Okay. So, had my sixth, my little Gracie girl. Um, for months after, again, this was probably the most dangerous time for me. This was a time where I had a lot of feelings of I didn't trust myself with myself. I didn't trust myself with my children. I felt that I was just like a hair's breadth away from losing it. And I always feared, what if the worst were to happen? What if the worst were to happen? If I were to harm my children, if I were to harm myself, like I I felt so close to that edge. I felt like I was almost falling off of that edge. So yeah, like we had been doing herbs for a good long while. I mean, I grew up in a household where we didn't really do herbs. So
Mm.
it wasn't until I married Greg and then he started working at a natural company and loved it and really embraced it and it really changed our lives. There were so many health issues that we were able to really manage well with natural products. And so we were believers in it for sure. But at this time, nothing I did, nothing I took made a difference. And that was scary to me because I felt so out of control. I felt that it didn't matter how much sleep I got. It didn't matter how much I exercised. It didn't matter what I ate. It didn't matter if I was with friends or if I was alone. It didn't matter what herbs I took. Like it just felt like I was drowning with no way out. So after she was about 6 months old, I remember Greg and I were supposed to go on this really long trip together. It was going to be like a 17-day overseas trip. And here I am holding my little 6-month-old little baby girl, five other kids in the house, and I'm drowning and I'm supposed to get ready to leave them for 17 days. Like it was insane. It was insane. And I remember exactly where I was. I'm in my rocking chair holding my baby, crying, just like,
Mhm.
I can't do this. And I'm sure I had said those words before, but in this context, it was, I can't do any of this anymore. Not just I can't go on the trip, but I can't continue like this. So that's, I think, one of the very first raw conversations Greg and I had. And he decided he still had to go on that trip. So he went on that trip. I started talking to my OBGYN about how I was feeling and how I had been feeling for at least a year and a half. Honestly, it was like 2.5 years. If you count the year of after Ethan and then plus my pregnancy and plus the 6 months. It had been a long time since there had been sunshine in my life. And so he prescribed me Zoloft. And I just went on, I think I went on a really low dose. It wasn't that much. And Greg came back 17 days later. And he's like, I walked in to a brand new woman. Like he almost didn't recognize me. Like I felt peace for the first time in 2.5 years. I was not crying constantly, not nonstop. I was I did have some people tell me you seemed to be a little numb
Mm.
to like you wouldn't really react to things. But honestly, that was what I needed. I needed to stop reacting to things. I stopped needed the fight and flight, from being triggered at every little thing that was happening in life. So for a good year, I was on that, and it was exactly what I needed. and it worked perfectly. It just it let my brain just kind of rest. And I'm so thankful for it. It was a godsend, truly. I feel like it probably saved my life. It probably saved, disaster from happening within my family. So after about a year, kind of stopped working. I felt the sadness come back. I felt the hopelessness come back. So they upped my dose, and then I felt good again for a couple of months, and then slipped right back down. And so there were a couple of iterations of this. I think I upped my dose maybe twice, and then just didn't even matter what my dose was. And so then my doctor's like, well, these are your options. You can drug hop, you can try a different drug. You can try different drugs to add on, so more drugs. And neither of those sounded really great at that time. And so at this point, we turned back to natural products, and I went on some concentrated Chinese herbs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to, over about 6 months, I think it was, wean off the Zoloft and then just be on those. And I still had moments where I would slip down into despair. It wasn't like it solved everything and everything was just wonderful and daisies from there on out. It wasn't. It was still a struggle, and I still had to do a lot to manage it. Sleep, food, and exercise have been huge in that journey. And even now, as I'm entering perimenopause, again, sleep, food, and exercise. Like again, like those are still so important to my mental wellness.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's so timely. I just listened to an episode. Actually, I don't know. Are you a podcast listener?
Not too much, but I do hear of some from time to time.
So I really like the Tucker Carlson podcast, which, yes, I know a lot of his
Oh, yeah.
stuff is political, but I like when he has experts on. And he just recently had a doctor
Mm,
who came on and he talked about SSRIs, but I felt like he did a really good job
mm,
of balancing it all. And he said pretty much exactly what
yeah.
you said. These drugs have never been tested for longevity. They have lots of side
Mm,
effects and they have lots of dangers, but they work. And the
yeah.
reason that they work is they come in, they slap a big giant band-aid on a situation, they numb you, they calm you, they allow you to just stop the spiral. And then the
Yeah.
intention is that, if you're able to start to go off of them and start to get other sources of help, could be therapy, could be this,
Yeah.
and I'm not a doctor,
Hmm.
so please, like,
Hmm.
don't take this, listeners, as if I'm saying what you should or should not do. I just liked how he just had such like a well-rounded approach to the fact that they do work, but some of these situations where we have these people on them for, 10, 20, 30, 40, probably some people
Yeah.
were going even higher than that, that's when you start to get
Hmm.
into a little bit of a scary thing, because we don't have the data to know what the side effects are. So I just love the
True.
your honesty with this, because that's what I experienced as well. So I also,
Hmm.
on my SSRI, felt like it saved my life, and then was
Yeah.
introduced to natural products, and then was able to combine both of them, and then started the weaning process. I'm
Right.
still not completely off of SSRIs because I'm still in the weaning process,
Hmm.
and it's been
Right.
a long time. It's been like 5 years
Yeah.
of weaning, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing, is some of the SSRIs are harder to get off of than others. I'm on one that's
Sure.
particularly difficult.
Sure.
But
Hmm.
I love your transparency.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it was our belief in, that natural is better that did hinder me from immediately like getting on a medication that could help me, because you do feel like no, 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 but this is better, so there's got to be an answer there. And try as I might and try as I may, I did not find that. And so there was a lot of guilt and shame of, oh, here we are, touting how great it is, all these natural things, and I'm needing a medication. I'm needing a prescription medication to function better and to have better mental health. And so I do. I think it maybe it was a little hurtful to Greg for me just to be really honest and say, all these things that are supposed to work are not working for me and I need something else. So kudos to him for listening to me and realizing that's truly what I needed. But then he saw the benefits that it was in my life at that time when I needed it most, and so I'm very grateful for that. And also like it, if anything, going through that, it does make me realize that you cannot judge another person's situation, and they can truly believe in this over here, but that doesn't mean that this, can't also be helpful. And so being willing to, when you need help, to ask for that extra help and kind of demand it, and be like, I am worth good mental wellness, and if it has to come from this right now, then that is what I'm going to do because, I deserve that and I deserve to take care of myself.
Right, right. And I'm seeing a lot of that in the GLP-1 world too, where there's such shame and guilt and,
Hmm. Hmm.
how dare you? And, oh, look at all these lawsuits and, and
I
I,
know.
I love what Greg said when I asked him about this when he came on the podcast. And he said,
Hmm.
if someone is on a GLP-1, that tells me that they're trying. And, I just,
Oh, I love that man. So
I
I've been
do
on
too.
a GLP-1 for 2 years. And okay, so we're gonna get real here. Okay, I am 5'4". I am turning 53 next month. And about 2 years ago, I was still having regular periods, so I wasn't thinking I was in perimenopause. About 2 years ago, my weight ballooned to 183 pounds. I am 5'4". That
Hmm.
is that is way a lot of weight. Like I was in larges, like I was pushing size 12. And for some people, they might look at that and say, "Wow, look at you, you're only in a size 12." For me, that was unusual. For me, I didn't not normally carry that much weight. So for me, that was unusual. So outside of what was normal for me, that was way outside normal. And I think I gained like, what was it, 15, 20 pounds trying to lose 10 pounds. And this was like this terrible, like, I felt like I was running in quicksand. I was like, what is going on? Like, I have done triathlons. I have done Ironman. I have done umpteen marathons. I've run Boston twice. Like, I know how to like exercise and eat healthy. And here I am, just like the scale was just going up and up and up and up. And I don't know all the answers as to why that was happening in my life, you know? And I was able to get on semaglutide and I was able to get back down to the 150s, like still not what I would consider like my normal weight in the 140s, but I am so happy to be in the 150s. Like I don't get out of breath just going up my stairs. Like, and I've tried to get off it a couple of times, and every time I go off it, weight just goes right, like scale, just I can count on it. I'm like, I do not understand everything that is going on, and I truly do not. But again, like I want to be, I want to be as healthy as I can. And for me right now, I am choosing this route
Hmm.
in addition to like really exploring what's going on with my perimenopause. But again, like one thing you learn about going through hard times is that, yeah, humility and compassion for others and lack of judgment. Like you have to drop judgment of others because you don't know what's going on and they may not even know what's going on. And so you drop I'm better than you because we're all struggling. Like we're all struggling through life, right?
Hmm.
And you have to give that compassion to yourself and give it to others.
Right. And what people, that don't do their research is that they don't realize all the other benefits that come with GLP-1s. I was just having a conversation with someone today, who just had how do I say this? I'm trying to say it in a way that it won't be identifiable if anyone local listens. She just had a
Of course,
serious,
of course.
yes, yeah. She just had a serious life event, and she also struggles with a lot of
Mm,
autoimmunes and things like that. And kidney and liver health are some concerns. And one of the side effects
yep.
that they have found of the GLP-1 is that it's really great at reducing inflammation and helping with autoimmunes. And so, lo and
Yeah.
behold, she goes on there, and not only is she losing some weight, which is really good for anyone who is struggling, who is overweight, but also her
Right.
inflammatory markers are going down. And so, you know, you,
Yay.
right? And
Yeah.
she is a super soul person. She loves the Soul Naturals products.
Mm,
She's a very committed customer of mine, and she's taking that with a healthy lifestyle that she's been working on combined
yep.
with the GLP-1, and she's having fabulous results. And I just want to like scream from the rooftops that stop judging people, because I certainly have
Yeah.
felt it plenty of times with
Yes.
SSRIs and different decisions. And quite frankly, we don't need to
Yep.
tell everybody every little detail. I just felt
No,
that
it's true.
recently.
And like,
Oh,
yeah, I agree. And for me, like my dad had an autoimmune disease. My mother has always had depression. I'm sure that she has lots of other things, but I won't go diagnosing her. But so I know depression, I know autoimmune disease run in my family. And even some of my children have exhibited different signs that I think you could have an autoimmune disease as well. And for me, starting to see a perimenopause doctor and having my lab work being done over this last 2 years, she's like, your sugar levels, like it's the one that's takes like your 6 month average of your
mhm.
sugars in your body. She's like, you're like 4 times what they should be. And I've never been diagnosed with like prediabetes or anything like that. But here I've been on a GLP-1 for 2 years and I still have sky high sugar, levels. So like for me, I'm like, I need to take care of my health. And if this will help that, but again, it's also lifestyle choices, like you said. Do what you can within your power, but there are so many good tools out there that sometimes you just have to find kind of the right combination of what tools are going to work for me and what do I need right now. And not necessarily that I'm going to need it for the rest of my life, but right now I'm struggling in this area. So, yeah, I hope that we can lift each other. I hope that we can support one another and just feel like it is okay. Give myself permission to go and find things that are going to work for me and help me because life's hard. Life's just hard. And if we can find things to help us, great.
Yeah,
Great, great, great.
yeah, yeah. I would agree. And, you know, that's a great segue into perimenopause, because I will say another area
Yay.
yeah, that I have felt a lot of judgment is I just recently, like we're talking within the last 6 months, started really diving into the world of hormones. I changed my whole entire social media presence. I ditched my accounts with thousands of people, and I really felt like the Lord was calling me to speak up about perimenopause, kind of like to learn out loud. And
Yeah.
so part of that journey has been telling people, once again, I use the Soul Natural supplements. Have a healthy lifestyle, but also on the other hand, you want to know what made a huge difference for me? Bioidentical progesterone. And I mean,
Yay.
from the very first night I took it, the very first day I took it, I fell asleep on the couch, which I don't think I've ever done our entire marriage, because I was finally
Wow.
calm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. I wrote down what I take. Here we go. Okay. So I'm on the estradiol patch. I take a oral progesterone every night, and I'm on testosterone. So yay for hormone replacement therapy. But also I take so I do Solflex AC. I love it on my face. I don't know about you, but like my skin is totally like changed. Really, really dry. I put it on my face at night. I put it on my face in the morning. I love it. Minify. Man, I love that stuff. After meals, usually after lunch, usually after dinner. So I'm taking it once or twice a day. Daily, I'm taking Solmegas, ProBio, Sulfit GP. I'm taking like three of those every morning and sometimes in the afternoon too if I'm kind of in a slump. Neuro IM for the brain fog. Good grief. Magnesium. Like I said, the D3 longevity, I do about four a day on that
Mm.
one. I'm taking iron and adaptable. Adaptable is my go-to forever and ever and ever. I take it at least eight a day of those because it just helps my mood. Helps me,
Well,
helps me, helps me. So yeah, and then I do try and like exercise again, lift heavy, right? That's the key phrase for now. Lift heavy. I try and get some kind of exercise a day. At minimum, I will walk, but I'll try and get to the gym. I try and get on my bike a couple of times a week. Last year, I got really into hiking. I did a lot of hiking, loved it. I have two knee replacements, but I can still stay very active. Like I actually start hurting in my body when I stop moving. So like movement for me is key. One big thing that I have changed in the last year, I used to love getting up at like, start work at 7, then I'm done at like 4. I need more sleep. I I rarely get up before 8 now. I need 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and I am functioning so much better. So I'm sleeping in a little bit more. I'm giving myself that rest that I need. Um, but yeah, and then eating, I've really got to, I'm focusing on protein, but I also like, I really have to work to get enough fiber, and I also have to work to not get too much sugar. So like that's our life. Like it just is, it feels like a full-time job trying to manage all of that. But
yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
I will have better health and a better quality of health for a long time.
Yeah. This perimenopause stuff, it is such a new industry. And I do want to talk about
Mhm.
adaptable in a minute because just had a phone conversation with someone who said, Kristen, I don't think I could have gotten through perimenopause without adaptable. So we'll talk about
Oh my
that in a
gosh.
second. But
Yeah.
this whole world of perimenopause is so new, and it is the 50s and up group that is really the first ones that are going through it, and they are talking about it because our grandmas and our mothers and our great grandmas and you know they never said anything. And I'm a millennial,
Mm-mm.
and so I'm on, kind of like we're just entering perimenopause, but then I'm starting to talk to people who are even in their mid 30s. They're already
Yeah.
starting perimenopause. I actually
Yep.
know teenagers who are on progesterone because there's so many
Wow.
things that we are doing with like the Lululemon leggings and the air fresheners and the artificial everything, that it's affecting our
Uh-huh.
hormones so deeply that we have to get louder about what hormones are,
Mhm.
what they do, how they affect us, and especially especially progesterone. If you are low on progesterone, you are a mess. I can speak from
Yeah.
experience, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
And I just went on progesterone. For the past year, I've had, oh, and I'm also on a thyroid medicine too. I forgot to
mm,
mention that. Yeah, I've been treating my symptoms with thyroid medication and testosterone, and just started a brand new doctor, and she's like, "We have got to get you on progesterone," and so I'm really happy to start that, and then starting on estrogen as well. So yeah, like you're right. Like my mom never said anything. I, I never heard any of this, until I think honestly, I think I've been going through perimenopause for like 15 years.
mhm.
And that sounds so weird to say, but like so many of like the symptoms that people have talked about, I'm like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me, and not really until like the last 2 years or 3 years that it just like took off, like skyrocketed. Like my symptoms were just like through the roof. I'm like, what is going on? Like I was still having regular periods, but that in the last 6 months has changed, or really the last 9 months has changed. So I'm like, okay, we got to get serious. Like and I love that people are saying it is not okay to just let us suffer. It is not okay to like not address these things. I'm so glad for the studies that are coming out. I'm so glad for the information that people are putting out there. I've learned a lot. There's a lot of people that I follow that I really, really love. One thing that for a long time I didn't really like believe, but yeah, dyes, scents, um, everything from like our shampoos to our soaps, like all of those, I really, really closed my eyes and was blind to how much they were affecting our hormones.
Hmm.
And I've just recently like converted and realized there are so many hormone disruptors out there that we really need to be careful. And it's harming our bodies. And so again, like I'm grateful to be in this day and age where people are talking about it. There's a lot of good information out there, and like the more you can learn about it, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be honest, like I really didn't want to be this girl. I felt this way when I started talking about anxiety back in, I don't know, it was probably 2013, 14, 15 when I really began almost like using Facebook as a journal as I worked my way through mental health. And then I had people who started to call me the anxiety girl. And I was like, oh, I do not want to
Oh,
be the anxiety girl. But it was because I was so open about mental
mm,
health and things like that. And then when I felt this call to educate on perimenopause and to really change my focus to that, I was like, do I really have to talk about hormones and libido on the internet? And but at the same time, I was so dark. And I think there was a
yeah.
lot of reasons why I was so dark, you know, in 2022, 23, 24, even some part of 2025. I
Mhm.
was walking around with I looked at my blood work just today and it was 0.37 of progesterone. And I can't remember what ideal is. It's minimum of 50. I can't remember. I should have looked, but I mean, I didn't even have a whole number of progesterone. I mean, I was
Crazy.
super low, and women need to know this, that like if all of a
Hmm.
sudden you're forgetting something mid-sentence and you're waking up in the middle of the night, you've got massive brain fog, weird anxiety, it may
Hot
be.
flashes. My fan is my best friend, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the message I want to tell women is that education is power and you don't have to suffer through it. But it's a both and sort of thing. Like you still have to support your body. You still have to have the vitamin D. You still have to have
Yeah.
the support from the minerals. You still have to have your base. And just like
Yeah.
that list that you just read off, I think that's such an important message for women to hear on both sides, that you support it holistically with all
Yeah.
of the good vitamins and minerals and all of that. But then you can go in with these
Hmm.
specific hormones, and it's just such a balanced approach. So, but let's talk
It
adaptable.
is. Yeah, let's.
So, what was your first experience with adaptable actually kind of led to the start of the company?
It's true. So I had been taking a good handful of herbs from a different company. I had been on those Chinese herbs that I talked about. Um, I was managing it okay. And as we considered starting this business, Greg, like he knew how much I had suffered. He knew how much I was desperate to like hang on to all the things that were working holistically, because again, I still felt like that was going to be better for my health, especially if like the SSRIs weren't working for me anymore. Like what else were my options but to try and find an answer in the natural world. So he would do these formulas. So he would like work out a formula, and then he'd like bring it home, and I was his test subject. So like he would like bring things like, how do you feel on this? And so I'd take it for a while and tell him. And it was kind of a back and forth as he was working through the formula. And he finally put in St. John's wort. And that was like, to me, that was the magic bullet. To me, that was like, that made the difference. And as soon as I tried that and I was on that for a while, I was like, I never want to be off this. You have to make this for the rest of my life. So we knew that that was like, it really worked for me, and I knew it would help other people as well. I do know that like there have been times where I think maybe as he was still working through it, he was like, okay, now try this without the St. John's wort. Let's just see, was it really the St. John's wort? And so then I would try that for 2 weeks, and I'm like, I feel terrible. I feel awful. This is not, this is not the formula for me. And I know St. John's wort sometimes can get a bad rap. If I ever mention to a doctor I am on St. John's wort, they flip out. I've had to be okay with that. And I do know that there's like certain countries where you cannot have that. Like it is outlawed as far as like a natural supplement. You have to get it a different way. So I know that, and again, every body is different. And what works for me may not work for you. So you just got to keep working and trying to find like what is the right thing for me. But for me, having gone through everything I have so far in my life, I speak out about it because I don't want people to feel alone, and I don't want people to feel like I don't know what to do. I'm at the end of my rope. I'm hopeless and helpless, and maybe there's nothing left, for me to try. And I always want to give people that hope, and I always want to give people the feeling of you are not alone, and you're not the first person to go through this. You're not going to be the last person, but there's people out there who have answers and who have things that could possibly, make a real difference. So keep getting up in the morning and keep trying, keep looking, and know that you've got a lot of people who have walked the path before you, and care that you also find answers for you.
Yes, yes. And you know what, guys? You have two of them right here. So I think that
For
is,
sure.
I think that's the perfect place to wrap up. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we close?
I had written just like a couple of little notes as far as like what have I learned? What is my takeaway? Um, Gratitude is one of my takeaways. Grateful for the support system, the people in my life who I could turn to, who kept fighting for me as well.
Mhm.
Maybe even at times where I didn't feel like I had any fight left in me. So gratitude for my life, gratitude that I hung in there, and continue to believe that there were good things ahead. Um, Another thing that I've taken away is understanding my limits. And rather than doing all the things I should, all the shoulds, all the expectations of myself, expectations of others, I've had to be honest with myself and understand where my limits are, understand where my triggers are, understand where my weak points are, and doing my best to shore those up, but also being okay saying, you know what, I am not going to go to that event. I am going to stay home. I'm going to budget in my Saturdays a nap. Like really, truly making decisions that I know are going to be good for me, even if I feel like I'm letting somebody down, or letting myself down. But truly being honest with myself about what my limits are.
Mhm.
I've also learned that you really kind of have to shave off all the excess. You have to get down to the bare bones of what is really important and how am I going to spend my time and how am I going to spend my life on those focuses, right? So yeah, really understanding what truly matters. Um, and again, like you can't go through a hard time without it creating in you a little bit of humility that no one's immune to struggle. And I am sure I still have mountains to climb in my life, and I realize that in myself and realize that there's other people that are climbing their mountains that might need a hand up too. So I think sometimes the best thing for myself to feel better is to reach out and help somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. Well, being in Utah, you are in the midst of some of my favorite mountains. And so I think you're going to be
Yep.
climbing lots of them. Um,
I bet I will. I bet I will.
well, Donna, it has
Um,
been a pleasure and a privilege. And I'm just so grateful for you and your vulnerability and transparency. And I know you're going to help a lot of women through this episode. So thank you.
well, thank you. Thank you, Kristen, for having me. Thank you for being such a wonderful advocate for mental wellness. And I hope if it's even just helped one person that it was worth it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.